EduTechGuys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed under the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to this episode of EduTechGuys Radio, brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools, both in Hope, Arkansas. We want to thank CDWG for providing some of the equipment we use on the show. Good afternoon. I'm one of your hosts, David Inark.
And I'm Jeff Madlock from Hope Public Schools.
From Hope Public Schools.
As I move my headphones around so I
was
can
gonna say,
listen to what's going on.
We're messing with stuff here. And
always messing with stuff.
So Dr. Jim will be in briefly. He's actually in another meeting, so he's going to, once he gets things wrapped up there, he'll come visit with us. So we're going to talk to him today about a couple of things. Developing a PLN, that's a professional learning network. And then one of the other cool things I think it's cool, is he teaches Civil War. And so he likes to use Kevin Honeycutt's coined term there, tradigital, and combine traditional learning with digital learning, and he uses it to teach the Civil War. So I think that's going to be cool. We'll talk to him about that. And our featured artist of the week is the Dan River Ramblers out of North Carolina. So we've got a heck of a show lined up, and of course, you know us, we chit chat about anything and everything, so we'll be doing our own rambling.
That's what we do most of the show.
That's right.
That's what this show's about, is rambling.
That's right.
I am the Rambler.
I'm rambling man.
Call me the Rambler.
I'm rambling.
If you want to watch us, we're also on Periscope. So head over to Periscope and look up EduTechGuys. We're live on Periscope. Hit us at Twitter at EduTechGuys, or you can catch David Inark at David Inark, and you can catch me, Jay Madlock, at Jay Madlock.
And
here comes the man right here. The only true working person in the entire group that actually does any work anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the table, Mr. Greg Moore.
You're my hero.
So this show today is going to be a fun one. If our guests can't come in, we're gonna start up the chit chat about all the other good stuff that's going on out in EduTech. Listen, if you'd like to be on the show, if you're watching us or listening to us on Periscope or listening on Mixler, take a look at www.edutechguys.com. Go to the bottom of the page and you can contact us right there. Or if you want to, just write us at contact@edutechguys.com. We'll get that email. And love to have you on board. We'll direct you to where you can sign up and pick your day and your time, and we'll get you on the show and do a fun time interviewing you.
Absolutely.
Fun time for everyone.
2, 1, contact. Remember that? Did you watch it when you were?
That has been forever since I just went back 10 years.
That's some old school stuff there.
It is some old school stuff. That's right.
That's way back there.
It is.
We're going to be singing about Bill Nye the Science Guy and Magic School Bus. And
that's the Wayback Machine.
It is.
All the classics.
That's why they have me around.
Is that why we have you around?
Yes, I'm the Wayback Machine.
I don't think that's why we have you around.
Oh, is that we can't talk about that on the air.
Greg's been working on switches for like 3 days.
Yeah, I'm covered in dust.
Electrical?
Hopefully not electrical dust.
No, I mean electrical switches.
Electrical dust. It's the worst kind.
Is that like Ziggy Stardust? Oh, sorry. Our respects to David Bowie.
Yeah, David Bowie.
The Goblin King himself.
Man.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. I'm going to have to watch. It's actually on the list to watch. This Labyrinth. Yeah. I plan on watching Labyrinth this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's one of the most popular cult classic films amongst teenage girls. It just kind of rolls on.
That explains a lot while we're talking about. No.
Yeah, that's why I'm watching it this weekend. Painting my toenails and doing my hair and watching the show.
He's as happy as a little girl.
Hey, let's jump into some news.
Let's do it. Let's talk our favorite subject of all time, Apple. Go ahead.
Well,
let's talk about the
good stuff
awesome
they released
stuff
this week.
Yes.
Well, it's not that they released it. It's not like it was a surprise. They talked about it.
Yeah, exactly.
They told us it was coming. I think this is a little earlier than we kind of expected.
Well, it was rumored that some of these features would show up, but it was it was rumored they were going to show up in iOS 9, and then it was rumored that they didn't show up in iOS 9 because they were going to focus on stability. So we were figuring these features were going to pop up in iOS 10. And I can't remember the last time Apple released features this substantial that wasn't part of like a major version number revision.
Yeah,
like
9.3.
Yeah, like just came out of left field.
Who knew that was
boom.
coming? Yeah, that was a little odd right there.
Well, and maybe it's just me, but it seems to me that with the management features and some of the other stuff that they're going to release in 9.3, I don't know, that it seems like that should have been part of their stage show. I mean, it's so weird. It's just kind of like, oh, hey,
and here it is. Of course, half the stuff that they've released for education in the past, sometimes they've focused on it, and sometimes, they'll put up this screen with like all these features that these are the things that we didn't talk about. And in the keynote, I always like to pause on that screen and like scrutinize all this, like, oh, that's going to be awesome, and that's going to be awesome, and nobody else is going to care about this outside of education, but these things here.
But so it's interesting. Several of our compatriots, how do you say? What's that word there? Compatriots,
friends.
No, some of these people aren't my friends. Well, some of our acquaintances, our coworkers. The interesting thing about it is so we're looking at the cool stuff that's coming out. I love it how a lot of people said, well, so now Apple's decided that they want to contend with Google.
Right.
And it's really kind of funny. I think those are two completely different things. I think Google's just as happy to be on the iPad because it is. Google's apps on the iPad are
Google's
wonderful.
Services first and the devices come second.
So. But, so let's take a look at that. So you get shared iPad for students.
Yes.
That's the big one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something we have been working. We were working on this last year, and we actually kind of had a somewhat plan, but nothing like this.
No, kind of to force our way into.
Yeah, it's just the poor man's version of sharing
exactly.
But sharing iPads, that fixes a lot of problems. Damage. Because when the iPads leave the classroom, that's where they get damaged.
In the halls.
Theft. That fixes that problem. The only problem that this actually kind of brings into play is that the usage of the device ends in the classroom.
Right.
So, now the kids don't take them home, and the kids don't use them on campus, or they could still with this, but they don't take them home. And so it's like, okay, I have from 8 until 3:10 or 3:30 every day to do what I'm going to do on this device, but then I have to leave it at school. That's an interesting one. Although I will say the new classroom app. So if I read it correctly, it's a lot like Casper Focus, which means you can, open up apps and lock them to apps and create whitelists and that whole. But you can also touch any device and see the screen of the student and what they're doing at that point. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's. But see, the way that Apple's devices work, is that local LAN only?
Probably would.
I would say it probably is.
Yeah,
But probably.
It's probably doing
probably
it with, if I have my guess, it's probably doing it with the same sort of technology as air display mirroring. It's probably just sending it to the teacher machines, just like an AirPlay receiver.
Yeah.
And then the student device is basically instructed to mirror to the teacher device.
Right.
So they can see.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so the Apple School Manager. That's a neat piece, and I think it'll work really hand in hand with most MDMs out there.
It's really mostly the new school manager stuff. Looks like it's mostly filling the shoes of kind of what the what do they call
Configurator?
Configure. They actually have like a little portal. Let me see. I've got it open in one of these tabs here. It's the deployment programs. Currently, they call it deployment programs.
I remember that one. Yeah.
And it's basically just got links to the area where you manage Apple IDs and everything like that. I don't know if they're going to polish that up, or if they're just sort of giving a new name to the existing feature, or I don't know. We're going to have to see what they do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the manage Apple IDs piece is really excellent. And and here's why.
Finally.
We don't need Apple IDs anymore.
Not at unless they use it for how you share the device, like if you have to sign in with your Apple
I
ID.
bet you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you're right. So that does actually change our whole game plan again, because we were using owned devices.
Right,
so
exactly.
Since that way we could just they would belong to the entity, we could just send apps to them that way and not have to worry about an Apple ID. But you're probably right, to do shared you probably have to have it. But this looks like it's going to make it just ridiculously easy to create Apple IDs.
I'm really curious how exactly, because we've sort of been burned before, not really burned, but Apple released a student Apple ID management piece, what was it, gosh, like a year ago. And we were really excited whenever it was released. And whenever we actually got our hands on it, it was slightly disappointing just because of the logistics of the thing. Because it sounded like you could create Apple IDs then like as an institution. And you could, but you had to... it had to send an email to the parent. The parent then had to click a link in that email to verify it. Then the parent had to go to a page and pick the student's email address and password. So you actually had to get all of you had to make sure you had up-to-date email addresses for all of your parents so that whenever it sent it out, that it would actually go somewhere. And then you had to make sure that you talked with all of your parents and said, oh yeah, please click this link so that your students could have an Apple ID. And then if the parents misspelled the student email address, it's going to be different. Or if they used something other than the school email address for students, if you're blocking other email domains inside the premises of the school district, then they can't get to verify the Apple ID, or they can't if students have to receive some sort of information for the Apple ID for whatever reason at their email address. It's tied to it. They can't get there. It was just it didn't work terribly well. There was too many places where it could break down, so it just never even got off the ground. At least not for us.
Yeah, I would guess probably they do still have. Now it's easier to create them, but I bet you it says now put in the parent's email and it will send them this link that they have to verify this and that whole thing.
I don't know. The
Maybe
way it
it's
says
easy.
managed Apple IDs, it says a new kind of ID for education. So it sounds like they've realized that the previous thing we did with student Apple IDs wasn't working.
Squirrels and bunnies.
And it says managed Apple IDs are created and assigned by the school. So it sounds like the parents don't have to get into the whole process where they have to verify and check. Because that was a major logistical issue.
I hope that's it.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see how these new Apple released features affect current MDM providers, developers, for example, like Jamf.
Right.
And how that's going to affect their Casper suite among, the other things that they've got in terms of management. And, they were taking care of some of those things, or I won't say taking care of. I mean, it wasn't exactly the same, obviously, but still, they were helping in those areas where Apple was lacking in terms of some of the user interactivities and classroom management. And now it looks like Apple is kind of beefing that up. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what's next on the agenda for folks like Jamf.
Well, they're certainly not going to get pushed out because there's things that Apple isn't touching with this update, like you can't push apps through this portal. You can buy the apps, but you can't actually push them. The MDM still pops in there. You still got to have an MDM to do that. You still got to have an MDM to set preferences on the devices and that sort of thing. So, I think it might wind up replacing Casper Focus. But aside from that, I think it's going to be complementary to MDMs more than competing with them.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great, man. That's awesome.
Sorry, everybody looks at me like
it's like, where are we going now?
Did I do something?
You're the one that said you want to talk about news.
You're the taskmaster. You're the one who's supposed to keep us on task.
Sorry, we're doing good. If you're watching us out there on Periscope, or if you would like to watch us on Periscope, download the Periscope app, go to the Periscope website, and look up EduTechGuys. You can check us out live right there. We're broadcasting out to the world through Periscope. And Periscope is really a great piece. We were just talking about it a while ago.
Yeah.
Periscope, I think you're going to see some really interesting things in the next coming few months. That are going to be a lot of big changes to Periscope, because Periscope is the #1 tool now being used by marketers, education, the whole bit. And I think Periscope has realized it's probably worthwhile in the education and post-secondary education market to keeping it simple. That's the thing about Periscope, is that you turn it on, you're broadcasting.
Right.
And people can chat in. That's also the bad thing about it for education.
Right.
Because if, a teacher, and I would love to see teachers use it in classroom. It's really cool to broadcast. But with chat on, you can get, anyone in the world can view your Periscope.
Sure.
And so you can get any kind of chat. And in a classroom full of second graders, our fifth graders are, heck, junior high kids, there's some words you do not want coming up because the junior high kids will go crazy because somebody's going to scream it out.
Yes, exactly.
That's the difference between third grade. They'll go, what is blah, blah, blah? And then at junior high, they'll just go,
surprised.
Yeah, I know that word. So, but, that's a big one. I think that's going to be a big one, and I think we'll see some stuff come out like a simple password, or if you don't have the link, you can't join your Periscope or something like that.
Didn't they just release like yesterday or day before? Now it shows up inline in Twitter whenever you're broadcasting.
It does, yeah, because it is Twitter. Yeah, so it does show up in line. So that's pretty cool. That's a big one. I had to throw this one out on Twitter. It's interesting. I'll just tell the world. I deactivated my Facebook account, my personal Facebook account, because it was just too much noise.
Sure.
That's really what it was. And
sure.
I found myself that was filling a lot of my ear. And I thought, I'm going to deactivate for a while, much to the chagrin of my family and friends. Because, I was kind of inactive. There are pictures on there. And there's none of that stuff anymore. And it's been good. I did it the day after Christmas, and I haven't turned back. So, coming up on a month, I get my first medallion.
That's your New Year's resolution?
Yeah.
Not to go back to Facebook?
That's just, I'll probably once I, get that done. But I am pretty heavy on Twitter, at @JMatlock. So I like Twitter, but if you follow me on Twitter, most of my Twitter is about education, marketing, things like that, music, pictures from gigs that I might play or music that I'm listening to. A lot of schools are realizing its power because everybody loves Twitter. I hope they do not change the character count on it. I like 140 characters.
I'm with you 100%. Now, I'll take that back. I'm with you 99%, or in my case, 249%. Because I think it would be very helpful if they would expand it to about 240 characters rather than 140, just because 140 is very tight, and I just think, that would just lead to a little breathing room, not 10,000. Don't put a freaking paragraph or, But by the same token, I have to say, with them keeping it at that 140 characters that it's been forever, it really forces a lot of us, not all of us, obviously, but it forces a lot of folks to really get down to what it is they're trying to say.
Right.
Now to me, part of the issue is like when you put a link in. For example, when we tweet out stuff and we want to link radio.edutechguys.com, that sucks up because of all the stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you lose half your characters just because.
Right. Sure.
So that, to me, that's where the problem. If links would not count against your count. Maybe,
I agree with that.
I
guess the reason I like it is because it's not supposed to be an RSS feed.
Yeah,
because that's what an RSS feed is for. If you want to read more than 140 characters in an article, then get a feed reader,
right?
Or just read the blogs. I think what I like about it is that this will make more people just make them longer. So I would rather you use Twitter to announce your blog or announce your post or your article or whatever you're trying to do instead of putting it all on there, because it's just going to bulk up the feed itself.
Right.
The feed's going to get massive. And still, you can't. Twitter is beautiful because even at 140 characters, sometimes you only get, that little bit of, tiny little, snippet. So you still have to bounce into it to see what it's about. You're still not going to get more than 140 characters on the feed. So you still have to. You're wasting time there.
Well,
my thumb's getting tired.
Well, and it's funny. Twitter's thinking behind possibly expanding this is that what a lot of people have started doing is posting pictures of all the text that they weren't going to post, which in a weird sort of way, that's perfectly fine with me, because you know what? I'm not going to go look at the stupid picture of of your blog post or whatever. Now, if you link to it, sure, I might go read it, but I still have the option to not participate. And like you said, they're still going to give you kind of that 140 character snippet with a read more tag there or whatever, so you could still skip it if you wanted to. But I just think it's funny that's their response to the people posting pictures of text is, well, we're just going to let them type more.
Right.
Screw it.
Yeah. Well, I was leading into that to this. So these kids, some students, decided to wake up one morning and Peel Schools. I don't know. That's at Peel Schools. That's the Peel School Board. PEL. It's a school board. So, a student wrote in a tweet, at Peel Schools, just in case you had absolutely no idea what the weather is like today, I thought I'd give you an update. And they took a picture of just massive snow and everywhere, and they were still having school. And the Peel School Board wrote back with, "Don't worry about me. I have a perfect view. Got one on my drive to work. My window blinds are up. Thanks." So, and it wasn't the only one. There was another one from a school in Canada, and one of the students wrote in, "Closed school. It's too cold to leave our houses." And the Toronto school board, school system wrote back, "What? It's -4 in January and in Canada. This is great. 2 words from years past. Polar vortex." So don't poke the bear with a stick unless you want to get swiped in the face.
That's right.
Interesting. I thought everybody would like that one. It's a really good one.
That is very cool.
At the end of the day today, I have a new Google form, Google tip of the week. So I'll save it for at the end of the day.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, we're still waiting for.
Actually, I think.
Did he try to come in? We're gonna see if we can get Dr. Beeghley
on board.
Dr. Beeghley.
I can't hear anything. Oh, there you are. Yeah. Hey, can you hear us? Awesome. It's a little low.
Okay.
I should plug in some headphones so I can hear what's going on here.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think that's better. Is that better? Can we hear you now? That's the
Can
question.
we hear you?
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yes, absolutely. Well, since we've got you on, welcome to the show. It is awesome to have you here.
Thank you so much.
What are you guys doing?
Quick, everybody plug
We're
in.
having. I was gonna say we're having a little bit of technical issue here. Hang on one sec.
We're good.
Are you
Can
good?
you still hear him okay?
You are the EduTech guys.
There you go. That's right. There. Yeah, he's.
Is yours clipping?
Yeah, it's clipping a little bit.
Got a little clippy there. Just give me a
Clippy.
second. Give me a
Getting there.
second.
Hang on one sec. We're working out a little kink here.
Fixing the clippy. I've got a clippy in my hair, and
It's
TMI.
so yeah, give us a sound check from your end.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 21.
21.
21.
Sounds good.
Blackjack.
Fourscore and
sorry.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation.
Awesome.
There we go.
Yeah, I would imagine you've pretty well got that memorized.
Conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created.
Awesome.
All right, so cool. I'll tell you what. Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us who you are and kind of what you do and what you're doing.
Well, hi. I'm Dr. Jim Beeghley. I'm an educational technologist in central Pennsylvania, and I run teachthecivilwar.com. So I talk to teachers all over and have a blog and website, share resources on essentially how teachers can integrate technology into the Civil War mostly, but also into social studies in general.
Cool.
Do a lot of work with teachers and showing them how to effectively use, like ditch the textbook kind of stuff, especially in social studies class, to use primary sources and videos and all kind of tools, because it doesn't have to be rote memorization of different things in class. Try to make it more engaging.
Sure. Awesome, man. That was very cool.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I saw, you also discuss developing PLNs, and actually you have a whole slew of things that you do.
Yeah, in addition to that, I have sort of branched off. I do have my niche or niche of the Civil War, but I love going around and talking to kids about digital citizenship. I don't call it digital citizenship. I call it virtual integrity.
Cool. Okay.
How do you be a good, you are what you like kind of stuff. It's what does that say about you, and would you truly be yourself online, and what are the good things and bad things about that? And if you like a certain thing, what does that mean about you? What does that may or may not show about you? So I talked to a lot of kids, about those types of issues. I do a lot now. Lately, I've been working with a lot of teachers and individuals about building their digital brand.
Yes.
So, so who are you online? talking. I'm here at the FETC conference right now, talking to a couple people, and it's like,
awesome.
What is your brand? So if I wanted to say, hey, I really like you and the conversation that we're having. A, where can I go find your stuff? A, and B, well, what are you about? Give me, like I just told you that I'm all about the Civil War kind of stuff. But the idea is that, what are you? Are you a Google guy? Are you an iPad guy? Are you, whatever, or girl? What would I hire you to come speak to my kids about, kind of thing?
Right.
So I help people do that kind of branding and website design for them, things like that.
Yeah, man, that is awesome, man.
So let's jump into professional learning communities.
Okay.
Wait, that's a hot topic always.
Always.
Yeah, always. So first off, you're at FETC, and that's awesome because I knew it started yesterday. Is that correct?
There was some stuff going on. I didn't get in till after dinner time. And, it's like I'm rooming with someone that I had followed on Twitter, so it's like I'd never met them face to face kind of thing. It's one of those, and I sit down and I'm having a meal with a bunch of people around the table, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, I follow you on Twitter, and I follow you on Twitter.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's really cool, because you just don't realize that your learning network is global. And at the drop of a hat, I could be following someone in Australia or, literally my neighbor, and sharing resources and sharing learning together online.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're talking to teachers and you're talking to students about building their professional learning communities, what are some of the high points, or what are some of those kind of key tick-off points that you really try to hone in on and help them understand, any of it, whether it's benefits, whether it's how-tos, that type of thing?
Some of the things that I like to talk to teachers about for this is, like a lot of them are afraid to tweet something, but it's like, get your toes in the water. People will listen and people will follow. And it takes time. That's the other big one. It takes time. To build up a solid relationship with people and conversations. And,
right.
So find people that you think you're going to like. If I'm here at, FETC, and I grab, a dozen new followers or something. And so it's like, okay, I like, someone, Adam Bellows here and did a session this one. So like Adam. So who does he follow? What does he, who follows him is a good place to start. And I always show them like the Twitter search tools and how they can find resources for their classroom. And it's always I always call those networks, they're 3 stages. You're the lurker first.
Right.
I'm kind of looking, I'm watching, hey, there's a good thing, I'm going to click on that link, and there's somebody telling me that they're having Cheerios for breakfast. Mm-hmm. So then I start to get to feel it out. Then I start to contribute. So I become a contributor, and then over time, as you continue to contribute, you become the expert. So if anybody, sort of needs anything related to teaching the Civil War, they almost always tweet me now.
Right.
It's that sort of thing. I've been getting into, I'm also getting recognized for work in designing websites with WordPress. So it's like educators are contacting me for that. So it's like, but it takes time. And
right.
You can't be afraid to put yourself out there a little bit.
Well, and I think that really, to me, I think that's one of the biggest issues. And we've talked about this really in other contexts, but I think it still applies here too. I think a lot of times, I guess we're all afraid to look stupid. Right, and so I think that's where
that's why we're on the radio.
So we don't look.
So we don't look stupid. We just sound stupid. No, but I really do. I think there's this fear that we don't want to say anything or do anything that's going to make us look like we don't know what we're talking about. We don't know what we're doing. We shouldn't be in the profession we're in. That kind of thing, and. I just, in my experience anyway, I think you honed in on one of the key things is time. Over time, and little by little, you just do little bites, right? Like, so if you get someone to participate in an ed chat, and maybe, like you said, maybe they just lurk the first couple of times, but then, they see a question and they have an answer, and so they answer one time, and they weren't made to feel like an idiot. So it's kind of like, okay, that wasn't too bad, and then let it grow from there. But like you said, time, I think, is a huge thing. There's, we all see and hear about folks who are, these mega superstars on Twitter and these mega superstars on YouTube, and they've got millions of followers and blah, blah, blah. And people think that happened overnight. And
it doesn't.
It doesn't, exactly.
Once you become, the more you do it. The other big thing is, and I learned this from Vicki Davis, who is at Cool Cat Teacher.
Yes.
Is to be consistent. So if you can even if you tweet one thing a day, you're being consistent, and people can see you coming through once a day at least, and looking at it, just so even if you're just in there and being aware of what's going on. I use TweetDeck. I love TweetDeck.
Yeah, I do too.
We're using it as we speak.
Yeah. Yes, I know you are. But my running joke, I think I tweeted the other day, I wonder how many columns I can have before I crash it.
Oh, man.
Because here I am at this conference, and I can make a column just for the hashtags of this particular conference, so I can see what's going on and retweet and find people to follow that are here and whatnot, or there's one going on in New Jersey or whatever it is. I can follow those chats and go in and out of them if I want to as the need. But you have to have a tool like that to be able to manage it, especially I'm managing multiple accounts. So yes. TweetDeck is an easy way to be able to do that.
So I have a question you can probably help us out with. What are the current hashtags for FETC this year? Is it just FETC or is it FETC 2016? No,
it's just FETC, yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I just created my column. So, so I have a question. So personal learning community, can you think it could get too large? You could get too many people running too many streams so that you get yourself overwhelmed? There's just too much noise?
Yes, I totally, and others will disagree with me. And I have friends who, they follow thousands and thousands of people when they have thousands and thousands of followers. And then I think you need to really hone in on those that you really want to learn from and follow those. And I have a column in my TweetDeck of those people that I never want to miss anything that they tweet, so that I have those resources available to me. And there are others that would disagree with me, because you've got to be able to filter out the noise, because you don't have the time to sit there and watch it go through. So learning how to do it and learning how to quickly find the information that you need is essential to surviving in a world where you could quickly drown in noise, as you called it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said that, just jumping back a moment, you said that you're hosting WordPress sites. Who are you hosting those through? Are you just doing it through WordPress.com, or are you hosting them with...
Oh, no, I do self-hosted. Okay. I do self-hosted. I use... SiteGround or Bluehost.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Bluehost is a really good company too. Yeah, I really like their stuff.
So I help design them from the ground up. Yes, can you go out and get a free Weebly site? Yep, I can have that. You can have that up and running in less than 10 minutes. But do you ever want to do e-commerce? Do you ever want to do something? What happens if Weebly goes out of business? So I can pay for $15, or for $15 a year for a domain name. And $5 a month for hosting, I can have my own website that I control and everything that I want to do.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and WordPress is so ridiculously powerful, especially with podcast. We use it to we use a podcast plugin to handle of our podcasting.
Mm-hmm. And Blueberry PowerPress.
Yeah, and we can actually most of the hosts we can actually give you a couple of tips on how to modify your htaccess file so you can upload your podcast. So yeah, but Blueberry is one of the best ones out there. Yeah. That's
so
really good
again, it's like I'm talking to a guy here, and it's like, well, tell me where your stuff is. It's like, well, I've got this wiki over here. I've got the Weebly there. Oh, I do S'more here. I've got an about.me. Okay, you know what? Spend $5, get your own domain name.
Right, exactly.
and it is as simple as that you could have something set up, and it doesn't have to be elaborate, but the idea is that you start to share your resources and get it out there, because you know what, you are an expert, and you're an expert in podcasting or something like that, and everybody's an expert in something.
Yeah, especially with all the new top-level domain names that are available now. You don't have to limit yourself to .com or .net or .org. Now you've got all sorts of things.
Right.
.me. Exactly. .me or .tech or all sorts of interesting domain. I think XYZ recently released. So awesome. Literally, we've hit XYZ.
XYZ. So. You've hit the end of the internet.
Or, okay, you're going to FETC and you're doing a presentation. Well, where do I find that? Well, you got to go to bit.ly/FETC// No, go to jimbigley.com/FETC.
Exactly.
That's not the real. I mean, I don't have a presentation here, but that's how easy.
Don't go there, because you better whip up a page real quick.
Thanks for visiting.
Yeah.
Well, along those same lines, from my experience, I think it's helpful to have, what you're doing in terms of helping them get set up. The big appeal with sites like Weebly and Wix is that people don't have to know anything, right? There's absolutely, almost, okay, yeah, you have to know something, granted, but still, I mean, you almost have to know nothing. You sign up and you go in and literally you're dragging and dropping and you type where it says to type and you put a picture where it says to put a picture. So that alleviates a lot of the fear that people have when you start talking about, creating a website with your own domain and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And so I think if you're able to provide the starting point for that and kind of give them that, frankly, that kind of hand holding, it doesn't have to be complicated. Now, it can be complicated for if and when you want to get there, but it doesn't have to be.
It's being simple without being simplistic.
Right. So I can have a simple, 5-page with a blog website, or I could have a fully blown e-course, podcast-rich e-commerce website all through WordPress.
Right.
You can't do those types of things with a Weebly.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, there are certain needs for certain things. WordPress doesn't fit all needs, but it's a great package.
And if it's a surprising number of needs, half the time whenever someone's looking to start up a website and they're talking to one of us, it's like, you could probably do that with WordPress with just the right plugins. I'm sure you could use this plugin and that plugin, and then it would do this thing.
Yeah.
WordPress has kind of grown up from just being about blogs to being a good framework. It's almost, it's a CMS without being a CMS.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, that's a big one. Okay, so, David's giving me hand signs. I think we're landing a small Cessna in here.
Yes, we're landing a plane.
Do you have something you want to add?
No, I was just going to see if this was a good time to
jump out and catch a little music.
Jump out and feature our artist of the week. And now I lost my notes, of course. They are the Dan River Ramblers, and so what we'll do is, Dr. Beeghley, we'll keep you on the line, of course, but we'll jump out on radio.edutechguys.com and hear a couple of tunes from the Dan River Ramblers.
Yeah, this is Eden and Leaksville Locomotive, so stay tuned to radio.edutechguys.com.
Hey, welcome back to radio.edutechguys.com. That's music from the Dan River Ramblers. And we heard Eden and Leaksville Locomotive. And I hope you enjoyed listening to those guys from North Carolina. They're a bluegrass and old-time music band. And according to their SoundCloud page, if you like the band on Facebook, they will send you a free jar of moonshine. Now, don't hold me to that one way or the other. I'm just saying, if you go to their SoundCloud page, it says, like us on Facebook, we'll send you a free jar of moonshine.
That's how you know it's quality bluegrass. That is the hallmark
That's
of
the
quality
real stuff, man. So that is the Dan River Ramblers. And you can follow them on Twitter. And oh my gosh. And they are at The Skimmers. At TheSkimmers. They are at The Skimmers. So there you go. All right. Now we're back with Dr. Jim Beeghley. I'm assuming, or maybe I shouldn't assume. I'm assuming you're not taking down some moonshine there at Betsy's.
No, not today. Maybe later.
maybe later. That's right.
So yeah, welcome back. You're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. We're talking to Dr. Jim Beeghley from FETSI in Orlando. Is it nice and warm out there?
It's in the mid-50s. It's warmer than home, so.
Yeah, that's nice.
Not bad, but that's a little chilly.
So let's jump into one of your true passions. What is your true passion?
What is my true passion? My kids? No.
Your kids? Ditto, yeah.
Yeah.
My passion is teaching people how to teach the American Civil War.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
In 2008, I did my doctoral research on how teachers use technology to teach the American Civil War. And back then, the number one resource was Ken Burns' documentary on the Civil War. And today there's such a plethora of primary sources that are available at the hands of kids, and not just about the Civil War, but every topic. The Library of Congress, Docs Teach, Eyewitness to History, Google Images, the Google Life Images. All of these sources are available to kids inside of the that are available to kids because we want them to act like historians. So the research shows that when students act like historians, they learn history better.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not about, the 11th Pennsylvania fought on Oak Ridge at Gettysburg on July 1st, 1863. Their commander was Richard Coulter, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It's more about, what happened? What about that unit? Why is it significant?
Not just a list of facts and factoids.
Correct.
And this happened and then this happened. But what's the flow? What's the story?
Well, give me a story, right? So, and I'll give you an example outside of the Civil War. Everybody's familiar with the famous Washington crossing the Delaware painting. So take that painting and throw it up as a writing prompt. And I always tell this story. Throw it up as a writing prompt. Pick one of the guys on there. Write me 5 sentences from his point of view. Write me a sentence. What do you think is happening? What's going through their mind? What was her letter home? Just give me your initial thoughts and have kids be able to do it.
As a kid in the first grade, 1977. I had this lunchbox that was a 17 metal, lunchbox like we all had in the 70s, and it was a 17. It was a 1776 lunchbox, and it had all this great stuff. And the main top of it was a cartoon, drawing of the crossing of the Delaware. And in fact, all of those characters, each one of them said something like, "It's cold," and the other one said, "I hope they have hot coffee when we get there." It was one of those kind of things. But think about that. I remember that because it was, a prompt for me to go. Yeah, exactly. That's real important. And the Civil War, what a huge plethora of opportunities to create prompts.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's not just about social studies classroom. It doesn't have to be in that 60-minute block. So, you can do math. Let's talk about logistics. What does it take to feed an army of that size? Let's line up our students front to back, in a single file line. All right, now let's measure that distance. Let's just say we have 20 kids, right, in a class. We measure those students. All right, what's that distance? Well, a typical company of a Civil War Union unit was 100 men. Okay, well, how long would our line be? A typical regiment had 1,000 guys. How long would our line be? How long would it take for the first person to march a mile, and how long would it take for that last person to cross that same point?
Yeah.
So it's math. Oh my God, little thing like art. We can look at art and sketches by Alfred Wood and having him, how he sketched things, and looking at political cartoons and how they were sketched. And, the first instance of Santa Claus was created by Thomas Nast during the American Civil War.
Huh.
Yeah, little things like that
I
get
did not
kids
know that.
get engaged in doing these things. So it's really just changing the way they do it. Another thing that I've been doing with kids lately is showing them how to colorize old photos. So if you go,
Oh, nice.
so if you go to the Library of Congress and you download an image, now you have to get the TIFF version, the TIF, tagged encapsulated file format. They're huge. I mean, they're like 50 to 100 megabytes.
Yeah.
But what that does is it allows you to zoom in on the image so it doesn't get pixelated. And then you load it into a program. I use GIMP because it's free, GIMP.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's Photoshop for free.
Yeah, exactly.
And and then start layering on colors onto these old photographs. So again, it's not about, and it could be for any photograph from history. I mean, you can pick Albert Einstein, you can pick Abraham Lincoln. I don't care.
Right.
It's the story. Why did you pick the colors for that particular uniform or that particular person? And let's learn his story. And it's much more meaningful than to just say, oh, that's Albert Einstein. I'm going to create I did this or whatever it was. Like you said, the rote memorization doesn't work. You cram, you exam, you forget. So this way gets kids to be engaged in doing history and learning about it a little bit differently and getting them interacting with these primary sources in ways that previously were not possible.
Right. Okay. So taking that concept, let's say colorizing a photo of, let's just say it's a Union soldier that they find. So is part of the lesson then also having them research what their uniforms look like based on the histories that we have and that type of stuff?
Yeah, that's correct. So, would a oh my goodness, like a 114th New York would have a completely different uniform than the 11th Pennsylvania that I just mentioned, because they were a Zouave unit, and Zouaves had different uniforms, and they were different colors. I just did one recently. It was I forget the guy's name. Oh, John Surratt. There's a famous picture of John Surratt who was indicted or was thought to be a conspirator in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh.
So there's a famous picture of him in a Zouave uniform, and I did it the way I thought that the Zouave uniform should have been.
Oh, yes. I remember that. I remember that.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yes.
So I put the picture up, and I said, hey, I did this, and there's something wrong with it. What is it?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it went down to that the trim on the uniform should have been gold and not red. And the reason for that was he was part of the Papal Zouaves, and their uniform was yellow. So you learn little things, and it just takes you down different rabbit holes. Sorry, there's some people talking.
No, here.
You are at Fetsy.
You are.
It's hard to find a quiet spot.
You're doing great.
They closed the press room on me.
Oh. But seriously, I do remember that. That was a
right.
I don't know if you call it an assignment, an experiment. I don't know whatever your word for it is. But he posted it on Facebook, and we all, those of us that follow along, all kind of jumped in there, and it took a village.
So again, it's just the little things like that. And then now, I don't say I'll always remember it because I'm doing it, but if you were to do that and you were to research it and find it, it kind of leaves an impact on the kids.
Yeah.
And so even with these, I've been doing this, since 2007 or something, 2008. You can go on to the Library of Congress and get these high resolution images. And I mean, if you've ever taken a JPEG or you've ever taken something, you try to zoom in on it, it gets all green, pixelated, you can't see.
Right.
If you go to the Library of Congress and get these high-resolution images, you can zoom in on them and find them and look at them and examine them at high detail. So you can start to see little pieces that are hidden in the background and foreground and start to, oh, my goodness, there's whatever sitting on the ground.
Right.
Why would that be there? Why would that be there?
Yeah.
little things like that just say, oh, that's so cool. Music. There's lots of videos out there on YouTube, Civil War era bands, like the Second South Carolina String Band. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about the lyrics of these songs and what did it mean. David Kincaid, I always do this when I do presentations. David Kincaid sings a song called We'll Fight for Uncle Sam. He's the Irish volunteer. It's an Irish song. So he does a song that's called We'll Fight for Uncle Sam. And that song is actually based off a drinking song called Whiskey in a Jar. If you're Metallica fans, maybe you've heard of it. Metallica actually does a version called Whiskey in a Jar, but the original one, I was watching PBS one night, and this group called the Dubliners was on, and they started singing this song. I'm like, that sounds familiar. Well, and you can actually go out on the Library of Congress website and see that We'll Fight for Uncle Sam was made based off of the drinking song Whiskey in a Jar. So what would a bunch of Irish soldiers why would they take an Irish drinking song and turn it into a rallying song for the Civil War, So little things like that gets them to be able to do it.
So now you've got our interest peaked. Now we're going to have to go find out why.
I'm taking notes
I need to know why. I've got to go find out why.
Yeah. What's it on? Oh, I do a lot with Google Earth. Google Earth's an easy one. Google Maps, Yeah. I actually saw, and I wish I've recreated it, a guy who worked with his kids, and they actually created, they used My Maps and Google Maps to create north and south, so blue and gray states and independent states, and then each inside of them they worked and created the battles that happened in those states in different locations.
Nice.
So, just adding different layers to a Google map, I'm like, that was cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. And then, so I'm curious if you sort of bring the whole thing kind of full circle in that you use the technology, and you're teaching with technology, getting the students to research the technology that was around and in use during the Civil War. Did I lose you?
Do I do that? Not really. No.
Okay.
Other than no, not really. I've talked about it, but I'm not so much. I mean, it is really cool that some of the inventions that came out of during the time.
Right.
The repeating rifle and how that changed the role of soldiers and how they fought. A lot of the ways they were used to fighting shoulder to shoulder in open fields, and then it became more of a trench warfare kind of thing. Yeah. Just one of them. The ironclads is another one. So.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, Dr. Beeghley, we want to thank you for coming on the show, and thanks for coming. You're off at a conference, you're at FETC, and you took time to come on the show with us, and we want to thank you tremendously.
Yes, very much.
Quite welcome.
I want to ask you, what else is coming up for you? Anything you want to share with our listeners or for the podcast later that you'd like everyone to know?
I am redesigning my teachthecivilwar.com, my website, so stay tuned for a brand new relaunch of my Teach the Civil War website. It's going to have some new features and some new resources available.
Awesome.
So it's going to be faster and a little bit better and be able to find information a little bit more. So it's I'm really looking forward to it. It's been spending a lot of time on it and hope to launch it really soon.
That's cool. Are you scheduled to appear anywhere soon?
I am soon. I'm presenting at the Pennsylvania conference.
Cool.
PNC is the Pennsylvania Educational Technology Expo and Conference, and I will be at ISTE in the summer.
Awesome.
Oh, nice, cool. We may be able to catch you up with you there.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a session there on branding. So it's a poster session on how to create your own digital brand and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
We
we'll
might
try to catch
you
up
there.
with you. Yeah,
for
awesome.
sure. Well, listen, if you'd like to follow Dr. Beeghley, just hit Pfeiffer 1863, F-I-F-E-R 1863 on Twitter, and you can find out everything that's happening with him and find out about his website redesign and everything that's being rebuilt there and where you can catch him live. Once again, thanks, Dr. Beeghley. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good one. Enjoy FETC.
Yeah, thanks. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that was awesome. We got to learn things.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
one of the best ways. That's one of the best things I love about doing what we're doing.
Right, exactly.
Doing this show and pulling in guests that bring up things that I had no idea. I'm sure there's listeners out there who they're Civil War buffs and like, oh, I knew that, or they whatever. There were some things I had no clue. I'm like, that is awesome. I didn't know. It was cool. A lot of fun, a lot of interesting information, and you can go to JimBeeghley.com. And his website has all kinds of different information, resources. And then, as he had mentioned, his website, Teach the Civil War? No, I can't remember. Oh, crud. No,
Did you see that? I saw that ball roll. It was dropped, and it was...
I did. Fumble. Oh. Man, I'm like the Bengals.
Be sure to check him, though, on the Twitter. And you can actually, if you follow us at EduTechGuys, you've seen we've actually thrown out quite a few tweets about him already. And check our website for the podcast. If you'd like to re-listen to this show at www.edutechguys.com/podcast.
That's an extended italicized slash, in case you didn't pick up on that.
We're going to get ready to wrap up here, but I want to throw out some stuff here.
I'm going to back up now.
It's getting a little hectic here on the Wednesday afternoon. I want to throw out some really quick stuff. We want to thank again our featured artists this week, the Dan River Ramblers. You got to check them out. That was at the Skimmers on Twitter. And if you check them out on SoundCloud,
and they are danriverramblers.soundcloud
on SoundCloud, and also hit their Facebook page, because if you like them, they're gonna send you some moonshine.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. So also January 28th and 29th, we will be coming to you live from the Wyndham in North Little Rock at the Arkansas Conference of Technology, which is a new conference that's just been started by one of our fellow technology EdTech people here in the state of Arkansas. Daryl Parks. He is with I forget what school Daryl's at. I'm sorry, that's terrible. But Daryl Parks is he has single-handedly put this together, and it looks like a very, very good conference. Very Hoxie, and a very, very good price for all those. If you're listening and you are a tech in Arkansas, you can be a tech from anywhere. You can still register. I think, and through the end of this week. I think the hotel, the Wyndham itself is sold out, but the DoubleTree, which is right across the river, he is working on getting some rates there, but it's still pretty cheap. That's where I got our rooms at. So, but the EduTech guys will be coming to you live from the Arkansas Conference of Technology. We'll be broadcasting from there, like we did at AESA and like we did for Corwin. So if you want to tune in, that will be 6-7 hours a day. We'll be bringing you all the presenters and anyone that wants to stop by the booth and have a talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The
oh, never mind. Sorry,
David.
Sorry, I distracted him. That was my bad.
The conversation. Way to go, David.
Okay, it's all cool. So
it's all cool.
I had one last thing. I had a Google tip for the day.
That's what I was indicating.
Oh, is that what you're doing? One of my favorite websites.
I'm not very good at charades.
One of my favorite websites is alicekeeler.com. ALICEKEELER.com. I followed her for a long time. She's on Twitter. It's Alice Keeler, at Alice Keeler, ALICEKEELER. She puts up a lot of stuff with Google Apps for Education. This is a really neat one, and it's when you want the students to be able to submit a drawing or their work per se in an answer. You can't actually do that inside Google Classroom, but you can create your piece just normal, like a paragraph text, and then ask the students to open draw, do their piece, and then publish it to the web, and then post as the answer their web link. Okay. And the cool part about it is once you do that, you can actually go into the spreadsheet, because all the answers come in a spreadsheet, and you can actually take the column that you'll find that has the link to it, and then put in the formula equals image in parentheses for that column, and it will populate the picture in the actual column.
So you've actually got the pictures that they
in the spreadsheet. Then you can just resize that to see all the answers there inside the spreadsheet. If you want to check it out, I'm about to tweet it out on EduTech Guys, but just point your browser over to alicekeeler.com and take a look at it. It's a great one if you're looking to let the kids draw and maybe show their work in a math problem or a flow chart or whatever you want them to do. It's a pretty neat little piece.
That's very cool. Wow. Awesome, man. Well, Jeff, that's a great find, man. That's, man, sorry you just bumfuzzled us. It's amazing. It's
I'm not that.
cool.
I'm not that special.
You're special.
Touche, sir. Touche.
And with that, we are just about out of showtime.
We're out of showtime.
So I guess we will wrap things up. We appreciate you listening.
Yeah. Hey, listen, check us out on the web, www.edutechguys.com. You can always listen to us here at radio.edutechguys.com, which will take you to the Mixler site where you can listen to all of our shows and the past archives. You can always head over to the website and hit the podcast. Catch us on the Twitter at EduTechGuys. I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm Greg Moore.
And I'm David Henderson.
We'll see you later.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.